Good afternoon. I'm James Fritz, the CFO at Newtown Macon, and along with me, I've got Josh Rogers, who's our President and CEO. I've got Emily Hopkins, who's our Director of Place, Bethany Rogers, who's our Director of Real Estate and Business Development, and Aaron Keller, our Vice President for Development. This webinar is part of Newtown Macon's recovery coaching program. It's a series that we're doing to try to help folks deal with COVID-19 and all the surrounding issues that not-for-profits and small businesses are having. Today, we're going to talk briefly about the economic impact payment, and then we're going to spend most of the time talking about pandemic unemployment assistance. Both of these programs came out of the CARES Act, which is the third of the four pieces of legislation that have been signed into law. These two are designed to get money directly to the people that have been most affected by COVID-19. So it's not for small businesses, it's not for not-for-profits, it's truly the piece of the program that's trying to get money directly to folks. We're doing this on April 29th. The information that we're using came out on April 26th. There has been an update on the 28th. The point here is just if everyone we'll keep a lookout, because we'll do some probably supplemental webinars just to try to keep everybody up to date as the new rules come out. So in any event, I'm going to share my screen and dive into some slides. All right, so the first topic we're going to briefly talk about is the economic impact payment. This is based on information that we're getting off the irs.gov website. Hopefully everyone has gotten this payment. This is the one where it's going to put $1,200 in everybody's bank account. A couple points that I wanted to mention just briefly. Those first direct deposits hit everybody's bank account on about 13th, and then checks subsequently went out on about the 24th. So if you've gotten one of these payments, great, don't need to do anything else. If you haven't, there's a website, it's listed at the bottom. It's kind of hard to see, but it's irs.gov, coronavirus, economic impact payments. The point is, if you go to there, you can then find this little button that says get my payment, and you can go in and track what the status of your payment is. You will need to know what your adjusted gross income off of your latest tax return. And you will have to pull that off either 18 or 19, depending on where you are in the tax cycle. One little hack that we did find, if you go in there and it asks you to key in your address, if you key in your address and it doesn't work or tells you that it doesn't have a status, try rekeying your address in all caps. Hopefully everybody gets this, because this is a huge benefit. So good luck on that. All right, the bulk of this, we're going to talk about pandemic unemployment assistance. This is the unemployment compensation piece of the CARES Act. So to do that, we've got to do a little bit of history. So unemployment assistance heretofore has typically been a state administered program. There's a federal and a state funding component, but it's basically administered by the state. And so what the CARES Act does is it adds federal pandemic unemployment compensation and pandemic unemployment assistance into the mix. And so it's as you'll see as we walk through this, it's a little bit cumbersome, because we're trying to take a state program that was designed to do something else and ask it to do a whole lot more. All right, so what we want folks to do is to do what's called an employer filed partial claim. And so to do that, and for that to make sense to you, we need to give you a little bit of history. Typically, unemployment insurance is just a safety net for employees that are wrongfully terminated. And typically it's a very adversarial process, because the employer and the employee have separated. And so the employee then goes and files a claim. The claim is actually adjudicated by an examiner and it can take weeks and weeks and weeks for that employee to ever see any benefit. So typically it's a very adversarial process. Additionally, in the state of Georgia, the max benefit is $365 and for only 20 weeks. And so when you take out 10% federal withholding and a 6% state withholding, you only end up with about $306. The good news is it's available for folks even if you've had a furlough or just a reduction in hours. So it can help you even if you've had reduced hours, such as what a lot of people have had in this time frame. All right, so what we're recommending folks to do, or coaching folks to do, is if an employer has to lay off most of or all of its staff, that it goes in and files what's called an employer filed partial claim. That's where we take the whole adversarial process out of the mix, and the employer just raises their hand and says, I have had to furlough these people and I want them to get benefits. It significantly expedites the process, and there's about a week lag between when the employer uploads this file that we'll talk about in a second and when the employees get their information, get their benefit. So it really is helpful. So the employer has to go into the employee portal, which is typically the place where the employer or the employer's payroll service lets the Department of Labor know who's working for them and how much they have made in the last quarter. The good news is for this group of people that have are eligible for unemployment insurance, the pandemic unemployment, it really helps, adds $600 to the program, and it also expands to include self-employed and contractors. But before we get to that, let's show you a few slides. So the first thing you need to do is go to the Georgia Department of Labor website, and under the employer section, you'll see the portal. You log in, and then when you successfully log in, this screen will pop up, and then you click on your account, and at that point, this green window over here on the side are all the buttons that are helpful in this process. When you go in and you try to file the claim, you have two options. The first one is to upload an Excel spreadsheet, or the second one is to key in all of your employees' information just one at a time through a form. We're recommending that you do the Excel spreadsheet because the trick to this is you've got to upload or tell the Department of Labor each week which employees have been furloughed, which employees are working part-time. So you've got to do this week in, week out. So our recommendation is to take the time to set up this spreadsheet. The spreadsheet looks like this. In column A, you have the employee's social security number. Column B, you have the weekend date. Column C, you have name and address. There's a template that you could download that was highlighted a couple slides back, so you could pull that down and then just key in everybody's information. It goes out pretty wide in the spreadsheet, but they're trying to grab a whole bunch of information. So they're grabbing all the demographic information. And then a couple points that we like to make in here is there's a couple questions on this earned $7,300. You can see it's about 5 fields down on that second page. What they're asking you, has the employee earned $7,300 for the time that they've worked for you? And this can span quarters or span years. It's just a yes or no. Hopefully you'll be able to say yes, because this is how they're going to determine benefits. And secondly, but if you say no, because it's a brand new employee, you have to put how much money they have earned. So it's trying to figure out how to calculate the benefit ability. The next field is something that we're just now starting to have questions about, which is weekly gross. If you've completely furloughed folks, then you put a 0 in there. But if you've gone in and reduced somebody's pay from, let's say, $400 to $200 a week, you would just put the $200 that they earned in the week. So if in a week it's 0, you put 0. If they earned 100, you put 100. That way the system will go in and prorate the benefits. Additionally, in some of these further fields out, they're asking just a whole lot more sort of information. But the one point that we do like to make it at the end is make sure you check yes in that last field that says, are they deferred because of COVID-19, which is on that last one right there. So upload every week, and then your employees will start to get the 365 minus taxes for the 306. Okay, so the next step is you're filing for your W-2 employees. So that was just for W-2. Now the pandemic unemployment piece kicks in. And so what that does is for all of those people that you filed the partial claim for, they will get an additional $600 a week just because of the CARES Act. So you don't have to do anything. There's no steps required. It just will immediately start falling into their paycheck. They've actually started getting these a couple weeks ago, so it should come immediately. And it's going to be for weeks ending 4/4 through 7/25. So the state's calendar, their week ends on a Saturday. So your week can end whatever day you need it to be, but just when they're going in and calculating these benefits, the $600 will be eligible for all the weeks from 4/4 through 7/25. And so that's called the federal pandemic unemployment compensation piece. What we're really excited about is the next piece, which is it allows the self-employed, independent contractors, and gig workers to apply for this benefit. And so what they need to do is go into the state system and file a normal claim. This is a little bit confusing, but we're asking those folks, and the guidance is file a normal claim. The claim examiner will review that, and then more than likely they'll be denied because they're not eligible for state benefits, but they will be eligible for the federal benefit. And so unfortunately, it's taking, we think, somewhere around 3 weeks for that initial denial. And then once they're denied, they will get an email, and those emails started coming out last week that asked them to apply for the pandemic unemployment assistance, which is the new CARES Act piece. They'll have to do that, and then it'll be reviewed again. And then after all of that, it will start to pay the $600 a week. This is really good news, even though it's a little bit cumbersome because they're trying to take a state system and run just a federal program through it. But it does provide a really good benefit because they will backdate it all the way back to the 4/4 week. So you go to the dol.georgia.gov/PUA website. And so this is what that looks like. Like I said, you can see we've got a date of April 26th. They've actually got an April 28th. And so we'll talk about what they helped us with. But if you go over here to the right, where it says apply for unemployment benefits, like I said, step 1 will be to file a regular unemployment claim. Step 2, it'll be an examiner will review it. And then if you're not eligible, it'll send you a link to do that process. And then where it's really going to get a little bit complicated is because the unemployment assistance system does not know about the self-employed and independent contractors, they will have to file proof of earnings. And so part of what they'll have to do when they get those emails after the first denial is to send in copies of 1099s or pay stubs or earning statements or their 1040C schedule, some schedule that they can prove where they've made money. Because what happens is if they are approved for $1 worth of benefit, they get the entire $600. And these screens are a little confusing. You've got to, once you log in, you go through a screen that looks like this, followed by a screen that looks like that, and a third one looking like the same thing. And then finally you get to where you're doing the application. And I just want to caution everybody, this is about a 20-page application because they're using the state form, and the state, part of the state mandate is if you apply for unemployment, they want to help you get a job. And so they're going in and asking you all of your resume type questions. They're asking you, can you work full time? But if you just click every time they ask you a question, is this COVID-19? Then none of those answers are going to matter. But you've got to get all the way through the application, and you've got to certify a bunch of stuff. But you've got to get to this point. It says your claim is not finished until you get a confirmation number. So you got to be diligent and get all the way to the end and make sure you save and exit. All right, so once you do that, then you've done all you can do. You can go in and check your status, but it's just literally going to take them a long time. The next step that we want to talk about is after you've been approved and you get the email that says, okay, you're eligible for the $600, you have to go back into here and request weekly PUA payment. And so what you've got to do is you've got to click that button, and then it'll go in and you've got to fill out your information in this bottom section right here. The question that we keep getting is, okay, if I'm a gig worker and I've gone 6 weeks without a gig, but I finally get a chance to go play somewhere or do something, what do I do about the money that I earned? There's a field here that you just put in the money that you earned in the week that you earned it, and they'll adjust your benefit accordingly. And it only affect that 1 week's worth of earnings. And so you want to make sure that you stay up on this and make sure you're actually requesting this payment, because this is the only way they know to send you the check. Because if you go 3 weeks without asking for a payment, they assume you've been hired and will put your pause your case and you'll have to reapply. So we also get questions about what do we do about earned versus paid. It's pretty clear in this as part of the claimant directory. It basically says it's when you earn it, not when you get paid. So unfortunately, I think that's a little misleading, but anyway, that's the way it is. So in summary, we've got the pandemic unemployment compensation, which is going to add $600 to each of our existing claimants. And then we've got the pandemic unemployment assistance, which is going to allows for the benefit for the self-employed, the contractors, and the gig workers. But you got to remember, once you get approved, you've got to do the weekly request. And then the other side of it is it extends unemployment for the W-2 people for an extra 13 weeks. So if somebody was getting close to the end of their benefit, they'd get another 13 weeks tacked on. You can find all this at the Georgia Governor dol.georgia.gov/PUA website. The one update that they did make on the 28th was they went back in, and for the self-employed and independent contractor people, they're asking you how long you've been without work, basically. And so my assumption is you're going to go back all the way to April 4th, so you can get the full benefit of this program. So that's our program. Hopefully this is helpful. Let's see, did we have any questions? All right, so in the week that I earned the money, or I got paid for the work, unfortunately, it is the week when you earn the money. So let's say you earn $100 this week, but you're not going to get paid for 2 weeks. You've got to tell them this week. So I hate that, because it's not going to match your cash, because they're going to take a little bit of deduction earlier than you probably get paid. Yeah, some of them, yeah, the other side is the partial claim, where some people have gotten benefits and others haven't. The employees can go in and check their status as part of this. Employees can go in and create a PIN and be able to log in and check their status. So the first thing I would do is check the status. We don't have any real concrete answers on this, other than everybody's claim is unique and it has to go through a reviewer. And so the easy ones, obviously reviewers are working, but you also have to remember we've gone from the lowest unemployment in since World War II or something to the highest unemployment we've ever had. So there's not any additional examiners out there. So it's just going to take a while, but I think you'd be best if you went to the portal to try to get a status. Is there anyone that isn't eligible? I don't think so. I think everybody, either through the traditional Department of Labor unemployment program or through the CARES Act PUA, should be able to get a benefit. Will I get back pay? Yes, the intent is, the CARES Act was signed into somewhere around March 27th. So the state's going to backdate everything to their week ending 4/4. So yes, everybody should get the back pay. Yeah, we expect the employers to start calling folks back for reduced pay. And if you're a W-2, hopefully they will just put your wages in that uploaded form, which will just reduce the benefit. The good news is you should still keep the full 600. So the state benefit will be prorated, but the federal piece should be good. And the same thing on the independent contractors. If you start getting work, when you request it, you'll just need to put those earnings in your request. So hopefully the administration of this program will catch up with all the people who've applied for it, and folks will start getting their money. So. Any other questions? Do I know of anybody who's gotten the PUA? No. They just started sending the emails out on the 22nd. A few folks that we talked to earlier this week had not even gotten those emails after having their claim denied. So I think the administration is still lagging on this. Yeah, then there's another good question. What if I deny going back to work? If you're a W-2 employee and the employer wants to rehire you and you decline, they will drop you off the partial claim, because at that point you have separated from the company. And so our thoughts are, at that point your benefits would cease, and then you would have to go in and file a claim. And then you go back through that adversarial process we talked about at the first to see whether you'd be eligible for benefits. So, yeah, it's designed for folks that don't have work or don't have an opportunity to work. Okay. I think that's all the questions.